horse drifted alarmingly in the betting was, fenced in the morning, continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Massive welcome to the Barsteward's Inquiry Sunday sermon. Hopefully by now you'll be certainly recovering from your flatulence from your Sunday dinner and listening to some sensible chat, or not so sensible chat, from myself, Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk, and John Lang of John Joe's Blogspot, and a special guest this evening, which is certainly definitely better than what we've had on in the past. But we've had the Ginger Hitler on. But tonight, it's Pip Larkin. Pip, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Pip's an avid fan of the show. Loves it, loves me and John, which is why we've got her on, because we don't want people that, abusers and things like Leslie Allison, give us problems. And Pip loves the show, so we've decided to put her on tonight onto the sermon. Right, it's an action-packed. It's an action-packed show, and we've certainly got plenty to talk about on this Sabbath. So I'll get straight on with the questions. We've got a couple, which sort of leads into our first topic, which is covering off the meeting at York this week. And Carl Swanson says, John, this is for John, after Newmarket, Chester and York, has the fair left you quite underwhelmed, John?
A little bit, not exactly a lot, but there were instances like John Laper swerving the Dante, the Yorkshire Cup failed, maybe not being as strong as I'd hoped for, the Fillies race not throwing up something in Snowland nor the Charlton horse. But I think that's the case with a lot of meetings. You build yourself up expecting a face, and then certain things happen that just sort of dilute it a bit.
Yeah. I mean, are you disappointed though that, say, the Classic coming up, the Derby, the Oaks, we've not really got? It feels like a really bad year already. If you know what I mean.
I think it probably is a fairly bad year, really. I mean, the Dante is traditionally the best trial. You couldn't scream back that for the Derby, could you? You were sort of very underwhelmed with High Definition's performance. As regards the Oaks, well, it's just another one in Aiden's quiver, isn't it? So, I mean, that's not going to be very exciting. I mean, we could even get to a stage where Aiden only runs 4 in the Derby. He'll be that certain of winning it.
I mean, it's certainly, for me, I like normally, you can pin your colours to the mast with something at this stage, and I'm sort of struggling. Even Bolshoi Ballet's win at Leopardstown in the Derringstown, even as impressive as it was, the chances of the opposition of running their races for me is very slim. Max Winey was never going, and you just wonder what that actually did end up beating. So for me going forwards into Epsom and the rest of the summer, I'm a little bit concerned with all the Classic winners so far, because I do think possibly the best is yet to come. I mean, we did see Derab on Friday absolutely bolting up, and for John Gosden, and I think there's going to be other horses this year that will probably surpass our Classic winners.
Yeah, I mean, if you were in charge of judgment, you'd run that in the Derby, wouldn't you, really?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the thing is, it's got enough speed for a mile and a quarter because it's keen in its work, but I certainly think Derab he's a more interesting runner than what I've seen so far in the classics. That's just my opinion. So it'd be interesting to see how it pans out. But yes, I agree, Carl Swanson. Thanks for the question. I agree that we feel a little bit underwhelmed so far on what we've seen. John, which brings me to John Hines's question, which he says, John, are you worried with your high definition tickets for Epsom?
Yeah, extremely worried. I mean, the one thing you need to do around there is travel. And, I mean, that just travelled like a Gold Cup horse, really, didn't it? I mean, there was very little to take out of that way. He'd say he'd have any sort of position at Epsom. The only thing you can say is if Eden runs his usual peloton of 6, he'd be one of the two at the back, hoping to pick the bits up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, for the horse that was able to pick opponents up at a mile like he did last year, obviously I thought that was a shitting effort on Thursday, really.
Yeah. I mean, what I thought was interesting, Pip, did you see the Dante? Did you watch the Dante?
I did, yeah.
I mean, what I thought was that Holly Doyle deliberately went off really fast to make it a pace, you know, for high definition. You could see she'd gone hard down the back. She kicked round the bend as if to say, if you don't follow me, you know, I might end up winning as a pacemaker. And it's like, and I think that was all for high definition because they must have felt that the horse was relatively slow in terms of they didn't run it in the Guineas. And it's like, right, so why don't you turn up for the Guineas? You know, the Guineas was nothing special this year. And the Bloods were wrong last week, apparently. And then all of a sudden they blast off like a rocket ship to Mars with the pacemaker, like in the old days. And it still was found wanting, just staying on grudgingly late into third.
It was a bit underwhelming is the right word, I think, for the of the moment, if you like. I did feel that it was a bit. The horses that were like really bigged up for it weren't just they just didn't perform as you would expect, really. So it was a bit of a. I won't say a non-event, but it wasn't capturing my imagination.
No, and like I think you know they'd be looking at the St. Leger now, John. Do you agree? Like for high definition.
I mean, by the time you get to the Ledger, it might want 2.5.
I know. I think that's the thing. I think it did look very slow, which is. I think it's odd because, you know, it won the Beresford and you're thinking, like you said, I agree with everything you said in our anti-post tipping show where you said that, you know, this horse really could take all before him this year. I think, you know, I commented and agreed with you. And I was surprised how slow he looked in the Dante. You know, it looked more like a Gold Cup horse than a...
Well, it looked like you're selling to JP McManus job, didn't it, really?
Yeah. So they're certainly struggling there. Anything else at York this week, guys, that either of you like found this week eye-catching or something to look forward to for the summer? Something for the weekend, sir?
I'll let John go first.
Well, I didn't really see anything that I thought, God, I've got to be with that next time. Or, you know, I mean, it comes back to this underwhelming thing, doesn't it? You know, I mean, I think we saw a few performances that were so bad. It's kind of confirmed our theory about this York factor and York being a queer place.
Yeah.
Because you know, I mean, there were some horses that just ran unaccountably badly. I mean, Huey's horse on the first day, I mean, that went from travelling to requiring oxygen in about 3 strides. You know,
I mean, this is the thing. I mean, York in recent. I mean, Ian Davis put up a really good, pertinent question the other day, and he said about like York's, you know, being on marshland, etc., etc. But I can never remember York. Like, is this resulted of overwatering in the past? Do you think? Like the strange, like horses are beat a furlong sometimes. As soon as the rain comes, John. As soon as the rain comes and the track ride's slower than good, right? Horses are literally beaten in strides and can finish nearly a furlong behind within 2 furlongs of the finish.
The only time at York, really, when the punters put it right up the boatmakers' asses, is good to firm ground, and when it's getting on the borderline of fast and people are starting taking horses out because of quick ground. And it's the only time where you can probably just cut loose and have a bloody good punt. I've known it a couple of times at the Dante meeting, and I think about once at the Ava meeting when it's been absolutely like that. And you know, again, it sheds a bit of shade on this gross profits deal that racing has, because for a course that has a high summer festival, they don't race on rattling fast ground very often, and there has to be a reason for that. You know, it can't be injuries. They're too good at covering a grass at York, and you know, unless they're breeding nothing but raspberries now. You know.
I heard it described as a very fair course. So would you agree, John, that it is a fair course? Or...
The dimensions are fair. It's the racing surface that's providing issue, I think. Sorry?
The ground there's a tricky one.
It's a very tricky one because irrespective of what the forecast is, you just get some horses there that might have form on good to soft all the way through the careers. They come to race on good to soft at York, and it's like they can't put one leg in front of another. It's absolutely baffling because you don't know until you get them on it.
Yeah, you know? I would agree with that. It can be deceiving.
Yeah. I think it's something about Yorkshire, you know, you've got cricket pitches like Headingley that's got snakes just below the surface, and then I think you've got something quite similar on the Nares, mate.
It is. It's these gremlins. It is.
Yeah.
I've seen some shocking performances this week from horses that I've backed as well. You know,
you've got to be a furlong, haven't they? You know
yeah, absolutely. It's anyway. So that's York covered off for us people. We've probably done our bollocks, but never mind. We'll move on to the next topic for the sermon, which is the Magnolia Cup of all things. John, this is something where Josh Apiafe has seemed to have. He's had kittens, babies. You know, he's basically in a complete mess at the moment. He's protesting with vigour on the lack of diversity in the Magnolia Cup. John, what do you say on this?
I felt the need to engage with Josh yesterday on Twitter because I was so upset at what this is doing to the lad, to be honest. I mean, he's been given this job by racing to increase and promote diversity within the sport. And then what we've got for this Magnolia Cup is a lineup that basically reads like something out of Burke's Peerage. We've got Thea Gosden Hood, which raises more questions than answers, really. I mean, the biggest question is how many kids has Gosden got beginning with TH? You know, we've got Thea, Thady and Samantha.
Samantha.
Also, you know, I mean, obviously she'll be one of the key work riders at the Gosden operation, alongside Ella DeTore, no doubt, who's also down for a ride in this. We've got Lady Tatiana Mountbatten. Now, I'm sure that'll be one of the Mountbattens.
I don't know. I think I heard about her kicking off in the Zetland.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. And we've got Scarlett Gartman Royce, who is something to do with German eventing, I think. Then an absolute gem here. We've got somebody called Callie Coles, who has 2 children, and they're called Merlin and Bear. So, I mean, I think we can have a sizable bet that these people aren't based on a council estate, because their peers would have already strung up Merlin and Bear and probably set fire to them. Now, Callie learnt to ride before she could walk, says husband Toby, who also reeks of a comprehensive education. We've got Fiona Miller, who's a ops manager with the Met, so no doubt she'll be taking a knee before the race. We've got Caroline Miller, property consultant. Now, read between the lines, I think she hasn't actually got a job. She's just got lots of rich friends who'll ring her up and tell her they're going to buy a house. What does she think? Octavia Pollock. You know, I mean, I just wish I could even get a sniff of marrying somebody called Octavia. Not going to happen, obviously. She's the sub-editor of Country Life, and she's the one that put the in country. We've got Candida Crawford, who is an equestrian trainer, and then we've got the advertising director at Tatler, which is someone called Goose Lee. Well, the last person I knew that was called Goose played for the Harlem Globetrotters. But I think this list goes to show that if you're remotely diverse or just a run-of-the-mill sack of shit in need of a leg up, it helps enormously if you are from a family worth absolute squillions. Yeah. If not, you don't really need to waste your time applying, because you're not going to get a ride. The poor old hijab lass that won it 2 years ago, she was awarded a scholarship to Dubai, and the last we heard, she's chained up on the other side of the radiator next to the missing princess. So
I did wonder what had happened to her, actually.
That's where she's at. Yeah.
The Khadija front, and I was wondering what had happened to her.
She made a richly promising start to her jockey career, but that was probably the only ride she's had. Unless some shaky Jones have been in to say, well, she's tied to the radiator. So I really do feel sorry for Josh. He's got all his water on there to big this up, and I'm sure it'll be all over the telly, and Victoria Pendleton will be interviewing the candidates on the day of the race, and it'll be wonderful and diverse, and you know, it'll be diverse in the sense that some of these play polo and some of them play croquet. That's about it, really.
I am a first-class croquet player. I was champion in, I think it was 1984, of the South Dean Drive Croquet Open. I was the champion. So whether that stands me in any sort of stead for the future, but I can knock one in on croquet.
Pip, straight up, you were 1984 croquet champion.
Yeah, the South Dean Close Croquet Open. Yeah. I don't think any of the riders in this year's Magnolia will have heard of that. It's far too exclusive.
Wow, I'm just impressed by that. My father-in-law plays croquet, but I mean, he's a typical tweed jacket wearing, pheasant under his arm, kind of, Peaky Blinder, that kind of thing. So you know what I mean. So yeah, just impressed by that. I mean, you were a champion. I like that. I love that.
I was a child. I was only a child. One of the many strings to my bow.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love that. We can't beat that job.
No,
We've got
absolutely.
croquet.
I do think there needs to be a bit more diversity in this with the riders, because it's not very inspirational for people who actually have achieved things, and proper things, not like just being the editor of Tatler, and which is sort of like a bit of a landed peerage, really, isn't it? Being working for Tatler.
Ghost didn't even have to apply for that job, I don't think.
No.
I think when Ghost was born, you know how the midwife holds the kid up and says it's a girl, it's a boy. I think when Ghost was born, the midwife held the kid up and said, "It's an advertising director at Tatler."
Honestly, I read it in two ways. I thought Goose Lee was like a kind of a nickname for a martial arts kind of bird. Goose Lee. It's like,
it could have been something she'd had done to her at prep school.
Yeah. Or it's like Goose out of Top Gun. I'm thinking Top Gun straight away, Top Gun. But it might be that. I don't know. But I mean,
that's what come into my head was Top Gun.
Goose,
she just got Ghost a lot at school.
That was how it is in them days. But anyway, but yeah, I like you said, like a tremendous lack of diversity. I'm on Josh Opiati's side. I know Rory Giovanni listens to this show. I actually know this. So Rory, we're all on your side here. It's terrible. It's completely terrible. And I mean, what's going to make it worse is when Gosden enables lead horse for his daughter to ride, and he just bolts off and wins by 15 lengths because others can't ride.
At least if we'd had some proper diversity and a couple of council house kids in there, we know that in disgust at that, they'd have set fire to the weighing room or something.
Well,
Absolutely.
It needs a bit of trust, that they're not going to twat the motors after they've ridden the horse.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I'm worried at. I'm really worried about that pull-up at Goodwood, John. Because you get round that bend.
If there's no pace on, if they don't quicken until the toe pole, the pull-up at Goodwood is going to be the place to be, just behind the boards. You could drill a hole through the boards and stick a camera on that, and some of the facial expressions you're going to get are going to be fantastic.
Yeah. Wonder what Goose might be.
Goose will think she's back at school because she'll be screaming, "Stop, stop, stop!" And
what a topic! Fantastically covered off by John there on the Magnolia Cup. Just absolutely had me in hysterics. That's one of the all-time classics. We move on because we're time limited on this. So I'm going on now to the ride that Martin Dwyer gave the winner of the 5 o'clock at Newmarket on Friday evening, Bellazada. It was possibly, John, and I will say this, and I know Pip hasn't watched this because she told me before the show that she hadn't had a chance to watch it. Yeah. But Bellazada, John, was, for me, one of the grossest, most deliberate attempts to win a race and wipe a field out and still keep the race. I haven't seen many like this. The fact that the horse was hanging right at the time, and Dwyer even thought, well, I'm going to give it a crack with the left and carry on cracking it with the left to make sure it drifts across, takes everybody out. He's probably backed it. But, I mean, how they didn't reverse that. I know it was a length, but how they didn't reverse it, I was perplexed last night. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it.
I did watch it, and I mean, I have to be honest, I have absolutely no love for that little turd whatsoever. None at all. I find him one of the most charmless people in the entire sport. And that ride only getting 4 days astonished me, to be perfectly honest. There was a horse in Bob Ogden's colours that was nearly decked. It was on the heels, and when the one in front stopped, it was nearly decked. It had horses behind it. That could have been horrendous, you know.
Yep.
It could have put Bob completely off his stroke last night with girlfriend.
With 19-year-old.
Yeah. You know, at Bob's time of life, he doesn't need anything upsetting his rhythms. And
I'm trying to really not laugh at a serious topic here.
it is a serious topic, and but I can guarantee Bob takes his Thursday night activities extremely seriously as well. But no, awful ride, awful steward's decision. The only saving grace was I was contemplating backing the Tregonning horse, decided against it, and then was convinced it'd get the race when I hadn't backed it. But overall, a very, very unsatisfactory outcome.
Yeah, I mean, I would class it as dangerous riding because it was deliberate. It cannot be considered accidental, so I don't know how you can get 4 days for that. If that had been like a double-barreled surname rider claiming 7, they'd have probably got a life ban, and just tarnished from the sport. A bit like you said, John. If your face doesn't fit in this game, it doesn't matter. You know, like you said, the guy with 2 owners or the 2 horses, or you know, the jockey trying to make the way up the ranks.
Yeah.
You know, like if your face doesn't fit, they just shove it right on you.
Full force of the law, then.
Yeah, and it's like
is he one of this nasty little inner circle? I mean, he's got form, this one, hasn't he? You know what I mean? I mean, the tape recordings and you know, I just dislike him. You know.
Yeah, he has got. I have noted his form in this sort of type of scenario in the past. So, you know, based on that alone, I would be swayed to agree with you both. To be honest,
he's probably had a large bet in India, Pip. I mean, this is the thing. I mean. You know, he has. I mean, you could tell with the ride, he didn't care. He did not care that he was just going to just drift right across the track, and he even made sure with a couple of left backhanders to make sure that he did the job. And for me, it was blatant, and I would have just chucked the bucket a lot. This is a senior rider. This is not someone that's like, you know, like just come on the scene, keen to ride winners, learning the game. This is a fella that's rode. Yeah, absolutely. He's been around. He knows the game inside out, and he knew exactly what he was doing there. And 4-day ban is just ludicrous. They're idiots. They're idiots running the sport, and that's where we're at. So I think we're all.
And can I just add to that as well? I had 14 quid at 999 to 1 Dragon Dancer in the Derby, and he's a bastard.
And they never live that down.
No.
But I mean, as I said, it's just Martin Dwyer should know better than that, and he does know better than that. And it's not. That's not a mistake. That's not a mistake. The jockey there knew exactly what he was doing. He'd had a few quid on, and clearly that's how he's rode it. Right, we move on to a little interesting tidbit here for our listeners. John, you've something to say about Lamborn trainer, or former Lamborn trainer, Doug Marks.
Yeah, I was talking to a mate about Doug the other day, and it just jogged my memory about him, actually. He was a fairly useful jockey. He won a Guineas and an Oaks, I think, when he was riding. And then he started training, and he trained at Lamborn the majority of the time. And he was absolutely off his nut. He was just paranoid as it's possible to get. Worried sick about any information getting out the yard, worried sick about anybody talking about him and all the rest of it, you know. And there was this work morning, and he'd worked all the horses, and there was a wood at the bottom of the gallop. And he says to the lads, he said, walk them through that wood. He said, and there's a big oak tree at the bottom. He said, just circle that till I get there. So they walk there's about 8 to 10 of these horses, and they walk them through the wood. And they get to the big oak tree, no sign of Doug, of course, you know, so they start circling the oak tree. And they're there a quarter of an hour, and nobody's saying out, you know, and then this quarter of an hour stretches to half an hour. And then it's up, you know, quite often lads in them situations will have a smoke and that, you know. And anyway, it gets to 3/4 of an hour, and one lad finally piped up. He said, he said, the dizzy old bastard's forgot he's not coming, is he? With that, Doug Marks drops out the oak tree and said, there you are. He said, I knew you were talking about me, you bastards. And got stalking off back to the stables. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
He sat in this oak tree for about 3/4 of an hour waiting for him to talk about him. And nobody had said out. I mean, honestly. That's the lengths people go to.
Poor old Doug. He's worried about his staff all talking about him.
I was cracking. Yeah, he was absolutely
about getting up the tree.
Well, for a start, he beat the string getting through the wood. And then got up the tree before they were there. And concealed himself. You know, I mean, unbelievable. What a guy.
Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Right, we're going to finish the sermon off. I mean, this has been a classic, absolute classic to be involved in. Pleasure to have Pip on board, and just listening to John is just amazing. Just privileged to be in his company. But we're going to finish the show off with a Jimmy Lindley lovely pair of hands eye catcher, and myself, I've got one that I already mentioned in a previous show, a horse called C Sessions that ran at Killarney this week over a trip too short. I think you saw it as well, John.
Yeah.
Staying on late, Killarney's a very sharp mile as well. You know, it catches you on the back foot, and I think this horse will improve massively when it gets to 1.25 miles. Certainly ready to win. Definitely ready to win. The trainer's not really that adept off an absence either, so they tend to need a run. And this horse really did shape well at Killarney the other day. So that's C Sessions. Put that in your trackers, because that horse will be winning around, I won't say Leopardstown or Curragh or anything like that, but if it turns up at one of these Irish gaffs in a handicap, I'd fancy. I'd fancy C Sessions to do the biz. John, have you got something to look forward to?
I've got root canal surgery coming up, I think. But as regards the horses, I put one up as a horse to follow at the start of the season, Dickens of Alan King's. And I didn't really want to back it last night, and I ended up backing it just because it was too big a price. It was 28-1. And it was the last place I wanted him to run it. It was Newmarket. He put a hood on it to make sure it settled. Well, if you're looking to settle one, the last place you want to take it if you're after actually winning is Newmarket. He sat out the back. He probably didn't settle ideally, but I think that was more freshness, with it not having run for ages.
Yeah.
I think all chance was lost there. But he's come through for hand riding. He's finished 4th. It can definitely win off that mark now. He's proven that. It's just a matter of him finding a strongly run race over a mile or maybe even 10. And we'll be collecting that.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And a fantastic way to end.
I've put it in my notebook.
Pip, have you got one for us?
Oh,
Pip,
we have a notebook. Yeah.
Have you got one for us?
Do you know what? I haven't actually, because the flat isn't my best. But
more of an
I jump's best, but I have got my eye on one tonight called Refuge, and I can't remember where it was running at. Oh, that's it, Hamilton.
Hamilton. Right. Right. Well, never mind. I mean,
I've got a head full of books of Wall Street now. Like King Charles. I've been thrown.
Sorry about that. I mean, it's me and John, really. We should have told you that we've got an eye catchers to finish the show. But anyway, we've got two there to finish the show with. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been fabulous listening to John's rants, as always, on Sunday. And I hope you enjoyed the show. That's all from us this week.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank
Can I
you,
just
Pip.
thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Pip. It's been a pleasure also. So we'll be back on Friday as normal and next Sunday as normal, where you can probably get bored of us listening to further ramblings. That's all from us, from me, John, and Pip tonight. Bye for now.